Chapter 20. Boku sat in the library, her heart thudding against her chest. The large wooden table in front of her was covered in finance textbooks, notebooks, and a few scattered pens. She wasn't focusing on any of it, though. Her mind was too caught up in the fact that Tom had invited her to study, just the two of them, and then casually suggested dinner afterward. Was this a date? No, probably not, she told herself. It's just Tom being Tom. He takes studying seriously still. She couldn't stop glancing at the entrance every time someone walked in. When Tom finally arrived, she straightened in her seat, trying to act normal. Hey, he greeted, placing his books on the table as he sat down. Hey, Boku replied, trying not to sound too eager. Tom glanced at the open pages of her textbook and then at the scattered notes in front of her. A small smile tugged at his lips. You actually studied before I got here? Boku huffed, crossing her arms. Of course. You think I just sit around doing nothing? Tom chuckled lightly, shaking his head. You've changed, Boku. You used to be quiet, always avoiding people. Now, you're brighter. Her breath caught. He noticed for a moment, she didn't know what to say. She felt like she was being exposed, like he could see through the new version of herself and into the girl she had been before, someone who had let life pass her by. She cleared her throat, breaking eye contact. Well, I decided to do things differently this time. Tom nodded, as if he understood. Then, without another word, he pulled out his notebook and opened to the page they were supposed to review. The next hour passed in a blur of formulas, equations, and discussions about financial models. Boku tried to focus, but it was hard when Tom was so close, his calm voice guiding her through each concept. At some point, he leaned in to check her work, their shoulders brushing. She tensed. Tom didn't move away. Was it just her, or was he sitting closer than usual? She tried to ignore it, but the heat of his presence made it impossible. At one point, she got a question right, and Tom smiled, really smiled, not his usual reserved one but something more genuine. See, he said. You're getting better. Boku grinned. Well, I have a great teacher. Tom's eyes flickered with something unreadable, but he didn't respond. Instead, he tapped the page with his pen. All right, last question before we call it a night. Boku nodded, determined to focus. But she couldn't ignore the way her heart raced. After they packed up their books, Tom led her to a quiet restaurant near campus. It wasn't fancy, but it had a cozy charm. The lighting was warm, the scent of freshly baked bread filling the air. They found a small booth in the corner, and Boku tried to calm her nerves. So, she said after they ordered, Do you always take your study partners to dinner? Tom raised an eyebrow. No. Boku paused. Oh. Tom tilted his head slightly, studying her reaction. Why do you ask? Boku waved a hand, forcing a casual tone. No reason. Just curious. Tom didn't say anything for a moment, and Boku felt like he was reading too much into her words. Then, unexpectedly, he leaned back and smirked. Boku, he said slowly. Do you think this is a date? Her entire body went stiff. What? Tom didn't break eye contact, his smirk still there. She scrambled for a response. I mean, no. Or, I don't know. Is it? Tom chuckled, and for a second, she thought he might actually be enjoying this. I'll let you decide, he said, taking a sip of his drink. Boku gaped at him. What kind of answer was that? Her mind was spinning. Was he teasing her? Or was this his way of admitting something? Before she could press him further, their food arrived, and Tom casually started eating like nothing had happened. Boku, on the other hand, struggled to process the conversation. The rest of dinner passed with easy conversation, but the tension lingered beneath it. Every time their hands brushed or their eyes met for a second too long, Boku felt her heart stumble over itself. By the time they left the restaurant, the air between them was thick with something unspoken. As they walked back toward campus, Tom suddenly stopped. Boku, he said, his tone more serious now. She turned to face him, her stomach twisting in anticipation. I like studying with you, he said slowly, as if choosing his words carefully. Boku blinked. Oh. Me too. Tom hesitated, then reached for her hand. Boku's breath caught as his fingers wrapped around hers. Warm and steady. Good, he murmured. Boku stared at their joined hands, her brain short-circuiting. He was still holding on, not letting go, even as they continued walking. Her heart pounded wildly, but she forced herself to act normal. She didn't pull away. Chapter 21. The walk back to campus was quiet, but the warmth of Tom's hand in hers kept Boku's thoughts racing. Was this normal? She wondered. Does he do this with other people? She snuck a glance at him, but Tom's face was as unreadable as ever. He didn't say anything about holding her hand, didn't even seem to acknowledge it. Should I pull away? Just as she was debating, Tom gave her hand a light squeeze. Boku nearly tripped. He squeezed her hand. She stared at him, eyes wide, but Tom remained as calm as ever. He was just walking like nothing was happening. Like he hadn't just sent her into a spiral of overthinking. This man is dangerous. By the time they reached her dorm, Boku had barely recovered. She expected Tom to let go of her hand, but he didn't. Instead, he turned to face her, his dark eyes steady. Sleep early, he said simply. Boku nodded, not trusting herself to speak. Then, finally, he released her hand, his fingers slowly slipping away from hers. She swore she could still feel the warmth even after he was gone. The moment Boku stepped into her dorm room, her talkative roommate, Lonnie, practically tackled her. "You're late," Lonnie exclaimed. "Where were you? Who were you with? Was it a date?" Boku groaned, trying to escape the interrogation, but Lonnie was relentless. "I was studying," Boku muttered, kicking off her shoes. Lonnie gasped dramatically. "Studying? With who?" "Tom." Silence. Then, Lonnie screamed. Boku slapped a hand over her mouth. "Shut up. Do you want to wake the entire dorm?" Lonnie wiggled free, her eyes sparkling with excitement. "Tom. Teachy Tom? Tall, broody, terrifyingly smart, super hot Tom?" Boku rolled her eyes. "Why does everyone make him sound so intense?" "Because he is intense. But that's not the point. Lonnie grabbed Boku by the shoulders. "You studied with Tom, and you came back looking suspiciously flustered. Spill everything." Boku groaned but knew there was no escape. Lonnie was like a dog with a bone when it came to gossip. So, she hesitated, then told her. "Well, some of it." When she got to the part about holding hands, Lonnie lost it. "He held your hand?" "Lonnie, and you just let him? What was I supposed to do? Fight him?" "Yes. Or at least demand answers." Boku flopped onto her bed, covering her face with a pillow. "It's not that serious." Lonnie flopped down beside her. "Oh, Boku, you sweet, oblivious fool. This is serious." Boku peeked at her from under the pillow. "Why?" Lonnie smirked. "Because a guy like Tom doesn't just hold hands. He's not exactly a touchy-feely guy." Boku frowned. That was true. She had never seen Tom casually touching people, so, Lonnie said, wiggling her eyebrows, "Either you're special, or you're doomed." "Doomed? Oh, definitely doomed. If he likes you, you're his now." Boku groaned again. "You're so dramatic." Lonnie just grinned. "No, I'm just observant. And you, my dear, are completely screwed." Across campus, in a high-end cafe, two people sat at a small round table. One was Nolan, the guy who had always tried to compete with Tom and always failed. The other was Vanessa, the girl who had spent years pining after Tom, only to be ignored completely. Vanessa was stirring her coffee with slow, deliberate motions, her expression dark. "She's getting too close," she muttered. Nolan smirked. "Jealous?" Vanessa shot him a glare. "Shut up. This isn't about jealousy. It's about balance. Tom has always been the untouchable one. The moment people think they can get close to him, everything will change." Nolan leaned back, watching her with mild amusement. "And you think Boku is the one changing things?" Vanessa's grip tightened on her spoon. "She is changing things." Nolan chuckled. "Then do something about it." Vanessa's lips curled into a smirk. "Oh, I intend to." Nolan raised an eyebrow. "And how does your little sister fit into this?" Vanessa took a sip of her coffee before answering. "Let's just say, I'll give her a little push in the right direction." Chapter 22. The next day, Boku was feeling weird. Not bad weird. Just weird. She kept catching herself staring at her hand, remembering the way Tom had held it the night before. Why was it such a big deal? She wondered. But no matter how much she tried to push it away, her heart would thump a little faster every time she thought about it. She needed a distraction. That distraction came in the form of Tay and Tina. When she entered the cafe to grab breakfast, she spotted the twins sitting at a table by the window. Their usual bubbly energy was missing. Instead, they were whispering to each other with serious expressions. Boku frowned. That was not a good sign. Hey, she greeted, sliding into the seat next to them. You guys look way too serious for a morning conversation. What's up? The twins exchanged a look. Tay hesitated before speaking. It's nothing, really. Tina sighed. It's something. Tay shot her a why would you say that look. Boku crossed her arms. I'm waiting. Tina gave in. It's just, we've been having some trouble with Vanessa's little sister, Chloe. Boku's eyes narrowed. Vanessa. She remembered the name from Lonnie's endless gossip. Vanessa had been interested in Tom for years, but he had never given her attention. So why was her little sister bothering Tay and Tina? She and her friends keep making little comments, Tay admitted. They don't say anything outright mean, but they keep acting like we don't belong here. Yeah, Tina added. And yesterday, they accidentally spilled juice on our books. Boku felt her temper rise. Have you told Tom? She asked. The twins shook their heads quickly. No way, Tay said. If he finds out, he'll definitely do something about it. And that's a bad thing because if Tom gets involved, it'll make things worse, Tina explained. Chloe and her friends already hate us because of him. If he steps in, they'll just take it out on us more. Boku exhaled, thinking. She could tell Tom, but the twins had a point. If this was just petty bullying, it was better to handle it strategically, and that meant she would handle it. Boku didn't have to wait long. Later that day, she spotted Chloe and her group sitting outside near the library, whispering and laughing. The moment the twins walked past, Chloe accidentally swung her bag out, nearly hitting Tina in the stomach. Boku was there before anyone could react. She grabbed Chloe's bag mid-swing, stopping it inches from Tina. Oh, my bad, Chloe said, smiling sweetly. Didn't see you there. Boku smiled back. Really? Because I definitely saw you. Chloe's smile faltered for half a second before she regained her confidence. Relax, we were just talking. Boku tilted her head. Oh, I love talking. Let's talk right now. Chloe's friends shifted uncomfortably. Boku leaned in slightly. See, I don't love when people mess with my friends. And Tay and Tina, they're very dear to me. Chloe scoffed. You act like we did something serious. Boku grinned. Oh, I know. This is just childish nonsense. But you see, I hate childish nonsense. It makes me, she paused for dramatic effect. Petty. Chloe raised an eyebrow. Petty. Boku's smile widened. And I have so many ways to be petty. For example, she glanced down at Chloe's expensive designer bag, the same one she had stopped from hitting Tina. In one swift motion, she accidentally knocked her coffee over, spilling it all over Chloe's bag. Gasps erupted from the group. Oh my gosh. Boku gasped dramatically. I am so sorry. Didn't see that there. Chloe's face turned red. Don't be mad, Boku said, still smiling. It was just an accident, right? Just like yours. Chloe clenched her fists but said nothing. Boku took that as a win. As she walked away with Tay and Tina, she knew this wasn't over. But she had made one thing clear: if Chloe wanted to play games, Boku was more than ready. Meanwhile, across campus, Nolan watched from a distance, amusement flickering in his eyes. That girl is dangerous, he muttered. Vanessa smirked. And that's exactly why we need to deal with her. Nolan leaned back. You mean you need to deal with her? Vanessa's smirk widened. Oh, don't worry. I have a plan. Nolan chuckled. This should be fun. Vanessa's eyes darkened. Oh, it will be. Chapter 23. For the next few days, Chloe and her friends kept their distance. Boku knew better than to believe they had truly backed off. Bullies don't stop just because they lose once, they regroup. And they weren't the only ones scheming. Vanessa had been watching. Studying, she had underestimated Boku at first, thinking she was just another girl interested in Tom. But she wasn't just interested. She was changing him. Tom, the person who never cared about anyone outside his family, was now openly favoring Boku. Vanessa gritted her teeth. She wouldn't let that continue, so she made her move. Boku was walking to class when Lonnie came running up to her, her usual excitement replaced with nervous energy. Boku, hey. So, weird thing. Lonnie hesitated. You got an invitation. Boku raised an eyebrow. Invitation? Lonnie nodded, waving a sleek black envelope in front of her. From Vanessa. Boku took the envelope cautiously. She knows my name. She definitely knows your name, Lonnie muttered. The question is, why is she suddenly playing nice? Boku opened the envelope and scanned the contents. It was an invitation to a private gathering at an upscale lounge near campus. Supposedly a get-to-know-you event for influential students. Oh, this screams trap, Boku said, handing the invitation back to Lonnie. Lonnie nodded aggressively. Right. I mean, she hates you. Why would she suddenly invite you to something exclusive? She wants me to walk into something blind, Boku guessed. Lonnie crossed her arms. So, you're not going, right? Boku smirked. Oh, I'm definitely going. Lonnie's eyes widened. What? Why? Because if Vanessa is trying to set me up, I need to know what she's planning. Lonnie groaned. This is why we're friends. You're smart, but you also have zero self-preservation instincts. Boku laughed. Relax, I won't go alone. She already knew exactly who she needed to bring. You're going where? Tom's voice was calm, but Boku could feel the displeasure radiating off of him. To Vanessa's little get-together, she repeated. With you. Tom's eyes narrowed. You think I'd willingly walk into her event? Boku shrugged. Nope. But you're going anyway. Tom sighed, rubbing his temples. Boku, look, she interrupted. She's clearly up to something. If I don't go, she'll just try something else. If I do go, I can at least see what she's planning. And if you're with me, she won't be able to pull anything obvious. Tom studied her for a long moment before finally speaking. Fine. Boku grinned, but, Tom added, his voice low, if anything even feels off, we're leaving immediately. She rolled her eyes playfully. Yes, boss. Tom shook his head. You're impossible. Boku winked. And yet, here we are. The venue was extravagant. Plush velvet seats, golden chandeliers, and soft music playing in the background. Boku wasn't impressed. She'd seen this kind of setting before in movies, rich people throwing around wealth to feel important. Vanessa was standing near the bar, chatting with a group of students. The moment she saw Boku and Tom walk in together, her expression froze for half a second before she recovered. She walked over with a smile so fake it should have been on a mannequin. Boku, I wasn't sure if you'd come, Vanessa said smoothly, pretending not to notice Tom standing beside her. Yeah, well, I love surprises, Boku replied just as smoothly. And I just had to see what this was about. Vanessa chuckled. Oh, it's nothing serious. Just a friendly event for those with influence on campus. Tom, who had been silent the whole time, finally spoke. And what exactly is Boku's influence? Vanessa's smile faltered for half a second before she turned to him. Oh, Tom. You know how it is. Sometimes, new faces bring fresh energy. Tom didn't respond. He just stared at her. Boku almost laughed at how stiff Vanessa was getting under that stare. Vanessa cleared her throat. Why don't we grab a drink? Enjoy the night. Boku exchanged a glance with Tom. Something was definitely coming, and they'd be ready. The night progressed smoothly, almost too smoothly. Vanessa played the perfect host, smiling and introducing Boku to people she had no interest in meeting. Tom stayed close, watching everything with a quiet intensity. And then it happened. A waiter accidentally spilled a drink on Boku's dress. A journalist from the school paper happened to be nearby and took a picture. And just as Boku was about to grab a napkin, Vanessa oh so generously stepped in and handed her a handkerchief. Oops, Vanessa said sweetly. How clumsy of them. Boku immediately understood what was happening. The moment Vanessa handed her that handkerchief, it was over, because what would happen next? The headlines would read, "Poor orphan girl embarrasses herself at elite event, saved by generous socialite Vanessa." It was a subtle play. A power move, and Boku hated it. She was about to speak when Tom, who had been silent the whole time, moved without hesitation. He took his own drink and poured it all over his own shirt. Gasps echoed around the room. Boku blinked. What the? Tom turned to the journalist. Go ahead. Take a picture. Silence. Vanessa's expression shattered. Boku grinned. Tom wiped at his shirt casually. Oops, he deadpanned. How clumsy of me. Boku almost burst out laughing. Vanessa clenched her fists. You, Tom cut her off. I think we're done here. He turned to Boku. Let's go. Boku, still smirking, looped her arm through his. Lovely party, Vanessa. And with that, they walked out, leaving Vanessa humiliated. Chapter 24. Vanessa sat in her car, gripping the steering wheel so hard her nails dug into the leather. Humiliation. That was what she felt. That was what Boku had done to her. She replayed the moment over and over again in her head. Tom pouring that drink on himself, the way Boku had smirked at her, the way they had walked out like she was the fool. Her plan had been simple: make Boku look like a charity case. If the school press wrote about it, the whole campus would see Boku as an orphan tagging along with Tom, forever in his shadow. Instead, she had been outplayed. Her phone buzzed. A message from Chloe. Are we going to let her get away with this? Vanessa smirked. Of course not. She opened her contact list and made a call. It's time to stop playing nice. I want her reputation destroyed. Boku sat in her dorm room, cross-legged on her bed, absent-mindedly scrolling through her phone. Okay, you have to tell me everything. Her roommate, Zizi, plopped down next to her, practically vibrating with excitement. She had been dying to hear the full story. Boku laughed. It wasn't that exciting. Just Vanessa trying to embarrass me. And failing spectacularly. Zizi cackled. You and Tom totally turned the tables on her. Boku stretched. Yeah, but something tells me she isn't done. Zizi rolled her eyes. Why can't she just take the L and move on? Because she's entitled, Boku said simply. She's used to getting what she wants. And what she wants is Tom. Zizi made a gagging noise. Gross. Boku snorted. Yeah, well, I don't think she'll stop anytime soon. Zizi leaned closer. So, what does Tom think about all this? I mean, he did pour a drink on himself for you. Boku hesitated. She had been thinking about that too. Tom wasn't exactly the type to do something so dramatic. Yet he had done it for her. Honestly, I have no idea, Boku admitted. But whatever his thinking, I'm sure I'll find out soon. It started small. A few whispers in the hallways. Boku noticed it almost immediately, the way people would glance at her and then quickly turn away, the hushed conversations that suddenly stopped when she walked past. Then the rumors started. I heard she's only hanging around Tom for money. She's pretending to be nice, but she's actually using him. She's just another gold digger, waiting for the right moment to trap him. Boku exhaled slowly, keeping her expression neutral. Vanessa, this was a classic tactic, poisoning people's perception. And the worst part? Boku couldn't prove it was her, but that didn't mean she couldn't fight back. Boku didn't have to wait long for Tom's reaction. The moment he caught wind of the rumors, he exploded. Who said it? Tom demanded, storming into the student lounge where a group of students were whispering about Boku. They froze. Tom wasn't just intimidating because he was rich, he was intimidating because he rarely spoke to people outside his circle. The fact that he was confronting them meant one thing: he was angry. And no one of them stammered. Tom crossed his arms. Really? Because I heard it loud and clear. Silence. Tom let the tension sit for a moment before speaking again, his voice calm but deadly. If I ever hear anything like this again, you better pray it wasn't from you. The students scrambled out of the lounge like their lives depended on it. Boku, who had been watching from a distance, shook her head. Subtlety? Never heard of it. Tom walked over to her. This is Vanessa. Boku sighed. Obviously. He frowned. Want me to handle it? Boku smiled. I do appreciate the offer, but I can handle it myself. Tom studied her for a moment, then smirked. You're planning something. Boku grinned. Of course I am. Boku knew exactly how to deal with Vanessa's tactic. Exposure. If Vanessa wanted to spread rumors, then Boku would let the truth come out, and she had the perfect way to do it. She went to Tae and Tina. I need your help, Boku said. The twins exchanged a glance before grinning. "We're listening," Tay said. Boku leaned in, lowering her voice. "Vanessa is trying to ruin my reputation. But if we expose her publicly, she won't be able to recover." Tina's eyes lit up. "Ooh, I like where this is going." Boku smirked. "I need you two to help spread some real information." The plan was simple. Tay and Tina, who were way more popular than Vanessa, would casually mention to everyone how suspicious it was that Vanessa suddenly had a problem with Boku right after she started getting close to Tom. "Did you hear Vanessa is targeting Boku because she's jealous? She's done this before, you know. Anyone who gets too close to Tom magically becomes a problem for her. Honestly, it's embarrassing how desperate she is." It was subtle, but it worked. By the end of the week, Vanessa's plan had completely backfired. Instead of Boku's reputation being ruined, it was Vanessa's that was crumbling. And just like that, Boku won again. Vanessa slammed her phone down in frustration. This was not how things were supposed to go. Her plan had been perfect. So why was she the one being painted as jealous and desperate? Her phone buzzed. "Chloe again. We need to do something bigger. I have an idea." Vanessa exhaled sharply. Boku had embarrassed her twice now. If she didn't stop her soon, she might never get another chance. She picked up her phone and typed, "Tell me." Chapter 25. The campus was buzzing with talk about Vanessa's latest antics. The whispers were growing louder, the rumors more salacious. Boku could feel the weight of it on her shoulders, but she didn't let it show. She had handled worse in her past life, after all, but as the days passed, the atmosphere became thicker, charged with tension. Vanessa wasn't going to let this go without a fight. And this time, she had a new plan, one that was more calculated and far more dangerous than the last. Vanessa had learned from her mistakes. Subtlety had failed, so now she was going to do what she did best: manipulate. This time, she wasn't going to target Boku directly. No, she was going after her friends, her support system. Vanessa had spent the past few days carefully observing Boku's closest allies, Tay and Tina. They were, without a doubt, the weakest link. The twins were popular, but they were also kind-hearted and trusting. They didn't have the sharp edge that Vanessa did. If anyone could be convinced to turn on Boku, it was them. "Hey, Tina, Tay, can I talk to you for a second?" Vanessa called out to them one afternoon after class. The twins exchanged a glance before following her behind the building where they were out of earshot. "What's up, Vanessa?" Tay asked, her tone cautious but friendly. Vanessa smiled sweetly, masking her true intentions. "I just wanted to check in. I've noticed you two have been hanging out with Boku a lot lately." Tina raised an eyebrow. "What about it?" Vanessa let out a dramatic sigh. "Well, I don't know if you've noticed, but I'm sure you have. Boku's not exactly what she seems." The twins exchanged a quick glance, their curiosity piqued. Vanessa continued, her voice a mix of concern and gossip. "I mean, she seems sweet and all, but have you heard the rumors? She's only hanging out with Tom to get close to his money. She's playing all of you." Tina crossed her arms, her skepticism clear. "You're just trying to start drama, Vanessa. We know Boku. She's not like that." Vanessa's smile faltered, but she recovered quickly. "I get it. You don't want to believe it, but just keep your eyes open. I'm not the only one who's noticed. People are talking." Tay and Tina exchanged another uncertain glance. It was true, there had been whispers around campus. They hadn't taken them seriously, but now Vanessa's words had planted a seed of doubt. Vanessa, seeing her opportunity, pressed on. "You're so close to her, I just don't want you to get hurt. I'm just looking out for you guys." Tina and Tay remained silent for a moment, clearly torn. Vanessa's words had been manipulative, but the doubt she had sown was starting to take root. Finally, Tay spoke up. "We'll keep an eye out. But we're not just going to turn on her because of some rumors." Vanessa smiled, her tone shifting back to sweetness. "Of course. Just be careful, okay?" As the twins walked away, Vanessa couldn't help but feel a glimmer of triumph. She hadn't won yet, but she had set the wheels in motion. All it would take now was a little more pressure, and the twins would fall in line. Boku hadn't noticed the subtle shift in the twins' behavior at first. They were still as bubbly and supportive as ever. But there was something about the way they looked at her now, something a little off. She couldn't place it, but it nagged at her. One day, after a particularly long study session, the twins asked if they could talk to her in private. Sure, what's up? Boku asked, setting down her books as she looked up at them. Tae hesitated, clearly struggling to find the right words. Tina, ever the more straightforward one, spoke first. We've been hearing some things, Boku, she said, her voice a mix of concern and suspicion. About you and Tom. Boku's heart sank. What things? Tina shifted uncomfortably. Rumors. People are saying you're only close to him for his money. Boku felt a cold wave of frustration wash over her. What? Who's spreading this nonsense? The twins exchanged a look. We don't know, but people are talking. Boku stood up, trying to keep her voice steady. Look, I'm not using Tom. We're just friends. You know that, right? Tae and Tina didn't respond immediately. Instead, they looked away, their faces clouded with uncertainty. Do you want us to stay away from you? Tina asked quietly. The question hit Boku like a punch to the gut. No, absolutely not, she said quickly, taking a step toward them. You're my friends. Don't let these stupid rumors get to you. You know me. I wouldn't do something like that to Tom or to you. The twins didn't say anything. They just nodded slowly, clearly still unsure. Boku could see the doubt in their eyes. And it hurt. Vanessa watched from a distance, her smirk barely concealed. She had done it. The seed of doubt had been planted, and now it was starting to take root. She had been careful, meticulous. It was only a matter of time before the twins would distance themselves from Boku. It wasn't long before the first cracks appeared. The twins began to pull away, not entirely, but enough to make Boku feel the loss. Their conversations were shorter, their smiles a little less genuine. And while they didn't outright confront her, their silence spoke volumes. Boku was getting frustrated. Why were her friends treating her like this? What had happened? She needed to talk to them, to make them understand. But Vanessa had already anticipated this. She knew that if Boku tried to talk to the twins directly, it would only make her look defensive, like she had something to hide, and so, Vanessa watched as her plan played out. Slowly, carefully. It was almost too easy. Boku couldn't take it anymore. She needed answers. She found the twins sitting on the steps outside the library, their heads down as they spoke in low tones. Can we talk? Boku asked, her voice tight with emotion. Tae and Tina looked up at her, their faces unreadable. Sure, Tae said, his voice flat. Boku took a deep breath. What's going on? Why are you guys acting like this? Tina's face twisted with indecision. We're just worried about you, Boku. We don't know what to think anymore. Boku felt a cold chill run down her spine. What do you mean? Tina hesitated before answering, her voice barely above a whisper. We don't want to get caught in the middle of this, Boku. You and Tom, it's complicated. Boku's heart sank. So this was what Vanessa had been doing, driving a wedge between them. No, Boku said firmly, this isn't complicated. This is about me and my life. You don't have to choose sides. But the doubt was there. The seed had been planted. And Boku was beginning to realize that no matter how hard she tried to fight it, the damage had already been done. Chapter 26. Boku sat alone in her dorm room, the weight of the past few days pressing down on her. Her mind raced, the voices of her friends, Tae and Tina, echoing in her head. They had always been her anchor, but now, they were slipping away, as if the ground beneath her was crumbling. The walls of her room, once comforting, now felt suffocating. She could feel the pressure of the rumors closing in on her, and the look of uncertainty in her friend's eyes was more painful than she could have imagined. The silence in the room was broken by a soft knock on the door. Boku didn't even need to look up to know who it was. Hey, you good? Came the familiar voice of her roommate, the one person who had always been there when Boku needed a sounding board. I don't know, MIA, Boku muttered, her voice tinged with frustration. Everything feels off, and I can't figure out why. Tae and Tina, they're distant now. Like they believe the rumors or something. MIA stepped into the room, her presence a comfort despite the turmoil that Boku was feeling. She was talkative, loud, and rarely took things seriously, but right now, her friend needed that. You know how they are. They care about you, Boku. Maybe they're just confused. I'm sure they'll come around, MIA said, sitting next to her and giving her a reassuring smile. Boku shook her head, staring down at her hands. I'm not so sure anymore. It feels like they've already made up their minds. And the worst part is, her voice cracked, I don't know what I've done to make them think that. MIA paused for a moment, her eyes narrowing as if she were putting together the pieces of a puzzle. Then, she said the one thing that Boku hadn't even thought about. Maybe it's not you. Maybe it's someone else who's planting those seeds in their heads. You've got enemies, Boku. Boku looked up at MIA, her brows furrowing in confusion. Enemies? Who would be targeting me like that? Mia's lips curled into a knowing smile. Who do you think? Vanessa. Boku's heart skipped a beat. Of course. Why hadn't she realized that sooner? Vanessa had always been the one person who could stir up trouble without anyone suspecting her. She was sneaky, manipulative, and calculating. She had played the long game, knowing that the best way to take down Boku was to turn her friends against her. I should have known, Boku murmured. Vanessa's been getting closer to Tina and Tay, and I've been so focused on Tom and everything else that I didn't see what was happening. MIA crossed her arms, her voice growing more serious. Boku, you're not alone in this. You've got Tom, you've got me, and you've got your family. So don't let Vanessa get into your head. She's not the one who defines you. Boku stared at her for a long moment, her mind racing. MIA was right. She couldn't let Vanessa tear down everything she had worked for. She had already been reborn into this life, given a second chance to make things right. And she wasn't going to let anyone, especially not Vanessa, take that from her. I won't let her win, Boku said with newfound resolve, standing up and walking over to the window. I'll fix this, MIA. I have to. MIA stood up, her voice lightening the mood. That's the spirit. And hey, you've got Tom, right? That guy's been acting like a lovesick puppy around you. Maybe it's time to stop pretending you're not noticing. Boku's heart fluttered at the mention of Tom. She had tried so hard to ignore her growing feelings for him, telling herself it was too complicated, too messy. But deep down, she knew. She couldn't lie to herself anymore. Tom was more than just her tutor. He had become a friend, a confidant, and maybe even something more. As if on cue, her phone buzzed. She glanced down at the screen and saw Tom's name. Her breath caught in her throat. Tom. Hey, are you okay? I've been thinking about you all day. Boku's fingers hovered over the screen, torn between responding and letting it go. But she didn't want to push him away, especially now, when things felt so uncertain. She typed back, her fingers trembling slightly. Boku, I'm fine. Just trying to figure things out. I'll be okay. She hit send, but a moment later, another message popped up. Tom, you sure? You know I'm here for you, right? The words sent a wave of warmth through her. Tom was always there for her, in ways she hadn't fully realized until now. She smiled, feeling a small sense of relief. Maybe everything wasn't falling apart after all. The next day, Boku couldn't shake the feeling that something was about to happen. She had been walking around campus all morning, trying to keep her mind occupied with studying and trying to ignore the tension in the air. But she couldn't escape it. As she sat under a tree, reading through her notes, she saw Vanessa approaching from the corner of her eye. Boku stiffened, bracing herself. She had a feeling that whatever was coming, it wasn't going to be good. Vanessa's smile was far too sweet, and Boku knew that look. It was the look of someone about to make their move. Boku, Vanessa greeted her casually, sitting down next to her without invitation. I wanted to talk to you. You know, about all this tension with your friends. Boku straightened, meeting her gaze. I don't want to hear it, Vanessa. I know what you're trying to do. Vanessa raised an eyebrow, feigning innocence. Oh. And what exactly is that, Boku? You're trying to turn everyone against me. You've been feeding lies to Tay and Tina, haven't you? Vanessa's smile faded, but only slightly. I don't know what you're talking about. I'm just trying to look out for them. They're my friends, too, you know. Cut the crap, Boku shot back, her voice firm. I know what you're doing, Vanessa. You've been poisoning their minds, planting seeds of doubt. You're playing a dangerous game, and I'm not going to let you win. For a moment, there was silence between them. Vanessa's eyes flickered with something unreadable. Then, she leaned back, crossing her arms. You really think you can stop me, Boku? You're just a pawn in all of this. You think you're special, but you're nothing more than a distraction. Boku's pulse quickened, but she didn't back down. I'm not the one who's insecure, Vanessa. You don't have to tear other people down to feel good about yourself. That's your problem. Vanessa's lips twisted into a sneer. We'll see who's the distraction when all of this falls apart, Boku. With that, she stood up and walked away, her heels clicking sharply against the pavement. Boku remained sitting there for a long moment, her heart pounding in her chest. Vanessa was a force to be reckoned with, but she wasn't going to let her have the last word. Later that evening, Boku received a text from Tae. Her heart skipped a beat when she saw the message. Tae, we need to talk. Can we meet tomorrow? Boku stared at the message for a long time, wondering if this was it. Was this the moment everything would unravel? Or would she be able to fix things with her friends before it was too late? As she read and reread the message, one thought kept running through her mind. She had to fix this. No matter what, tomorrow would be the beginning of something new. Chapter 27. The sun had barely risen the next day when Boku found herself pacing back and forth in her dorm room. The message from Tae still echoed in her mind. It had been hours since she'd seen it, but the nerves in her stomach felt just as fresh as when she first read it. We need to talk. Can we meet tomorrow? Was this a chance to patch things up, or was it the end of her friendship with Tae and Tina? Every part of her screamed to delay the meeting, but she knew she couldn't. If she was going to fix this, she had to face them head on, just as she had done with Vanessa. But how would it go? What would she say? Boku quickly changed into something casual and made her way to the campus cafe, the place where she'd first met Tae and Tina. It seemed fitting to meet there, to return to where their bond had first formed. The space was familiar and welcoming, two things she needed right now. The cafe was bustling with the usual morning crowd, students grabbing coffee before class, groups of friends gossiping over breakfast, and the hum of soft music playing in the background. Boku spotted Tae sitting at one of the corner tables. Her posture was stiff, and she was tapping her fingers nervously on the tabletop. Boku approached slowly, her heart thudding against her chest as she slid into the chair across from Tae. Hey, Boku said, her voice a little shaky. You wanted to talk. Tae gave a small, tight smile, but there was a tension in her expression that made Boku's stomach flip. She was about to hear what had been on her friends' minds, and it wasn't going to be easy. Yeah, Tae replied, her voice steady, though her eyes betrayed her uncertainty. We need to get some things out in the open, Boku. I've been thinking a lot about everything that's happened. About us. About you. Boku swallowed hard, afraid of what was coming. I've been thinking about it too, she admitted, her voice soft. And I'm sorry, Tae. I don't want this to be the end. I never meant to hurt you or Tina. Tae shook her head, her expression softening. I know you didn't mean to hurt us, but, she paused, glancing around the cafe as if she wasn't sure how to say the next part. Finally, she looked Boku in the eye. There's been a lot going on, and it's hard for us to know what to believe, you know? The rumors, everything Vanessa said. It made us question things. Boku's heart sank. She had been right. Vanessa's lies had worked. But this was her chance. I know the rumors are out there, and I don't know how to make them go away, Boku began, her voice steadier now. But I can tell you this, none of it is true. I'm not trying to come between you and Tina. I never was. She took a deep breath, looking down at her hands. I should have been more open with you, Tae. I should have told you everything. But I've been so focused on other things. Tae raised an eyebrow, her lips twitching in a small, amused smile. You mean Tom? Boku's face heated up, but she nodded. Yeah. I didn't realize how much I was letting everything else get in the way. But I know that I've hurt you. And I'm sorry for that. Tae reached across the table and placed her hand over Boku's. You didn't hurt me. Not intentionally. But you've been keeping things from me, and that's what hurt. I thought we were close enough that I wouldn't have to hear about your feelings for Tom from someone else. Boku winced, her chest tightening at the words. She hadn't meant to keep things from Tay, but she realized how her silence had created distance between them. I didn't want to make things awkward. I didn't know how to tell you. I didn't want to risk losing our friendship. Tay smiled warmly now, a hint of the old playfulness returning to her eyes. You won't lose me that easily. But, Boku, you have to be honest with me. With both of us. I don't want to be kept in the dark anymore. I want to be your friend, not just your backup plan. Boku swallowed, nodding. I get it. I'll do better. I promise. She squeezed Tay's hand, grateful for the forgiveness she could feel in her words. Thank you for giving me the chance to make things right. Tay leaned back in her chair, her eyes softening. I think we'll be okay. But there's still something I don't understand. How could you let Vanessa get into your head like that? You're stronger than that, Boku. Boku sighed, her fingers tracing the rim of her coffee cup. I didn't see it at first. I was too focused on everything else, Tom, school, the pressure. And Vanessa. She knows how to manipulate people, how to plant seeds of doubt. I should have seen through her. Tay's expression hardened slightly. She's been pulling all the strings, hasn't she? Boku nodded. She has. But I won't let her win. Not anymore. I've been through too much to let someone like her take away what I've worked for. Tay smiled, a proud glint in her eyes. That's the spirit. We've got your back, Boku. And you've got mine. Before Boku could respond, she felt a presence behind her. She turned and saw Tina approaching the table, her face unreadable. For a moment, all three of them just stared at one another, the tension thick in the air. Finally, Tina spoke, her voice quiet but firm. I'm sorry too, Boku. For letting the rumors get to me. I should have talked to you sooner. Boku's heart swelled. She could see the sincerity in Tina's eyes. Thank you, Tina, she whispered, feeling a weight lift from her shoulders. It means a lot. Tina sat down next to Tay, looking from one of them to the other. I guess we've got some things to work out, she said, a wry smile tugging at her lips. But I think we'll get there. I'm not going anywhere. Boku looked between her two friends, her chest swelling with gratitude. I'm so glad. I don't want to lose either of you. Tay grinned. You won't. Just promise me one thing. Anything, Boku said, eager to keep the peace next time, no more secrets. Got it. Boku laughed, her heart lightening. Got it. Chapter 28. The following week came and went in a whirlwind of final exams, group projects, and the sudden realization that the semester was coming to an end. Boku felt a mixture of relief and dread. On one hand, she was glad to see the end of the constant pressure to balance everything in her life. On the other hand, she knew the real challenge was only just beginning. Tay and Tina were still around, their bond stronger than ever. The trio had spent countless hours talking, laughing, and even scheming about their futures. It felt like everything was finally falling into place until she realized there was one thing she hadn't accounted for, the looming presence of Vanessa. The bullies were still out there, quietly plotting their next move, but this time, it was different. Boku had her friends. And more importantly, she had her own voice. Sitting in the student lounge with her textbooks scattered across the table, Boku found herself lost in thought, tracing the lines of her notes as the rest of the cafe buzzed with activity. The door to the lounge swung open, and she looked up to see Tom walking in, his usual serious demeanor replaced with something a little softer. She hadn't seen him much lately, with everything going on with her friends, the drama with Vanessa, and her newfound resolve to balance her life, but there he was, his gaze landing on her. His lips curved into a small, playful grin as he approached the table. You look deep in thought, Tom said, sliding into the chair across from her. His deep voice had a soothing quality, one that always seemed to calm her nerves. Boku smiled back, though there was still a trace of uncertainty in her eyes. Just thinking about everything. You know, life. Friends. The usual. Tom raised an eyebrow, clearly not buying her response. Right. And let me guess, you're stressing about something. She let out a small laugh, shaking her head. You could say that. I'm trying to figure out what to do next, how to balance everything. Well, you're not alone, he said with a knowing smile. It's not always easy. But you've got a good head on your shoulders. I'm sure you'll figure it out. Boku felt a flicker of warmth at his words, and for a brief moment, the world seemed a little less overwhelming. But then, as if on cue, the door to the lounge swung open again, and her gaze shifted to the new arrivals. It was Tay and Tina, walking in with their usual bubbly energy, though something seemed off. The smiles on their faces were a little strained, their eyes darting around the room as if they were searching for something. Tay caught Boku's eye and immediately made her way over, followed by Tina. Hey, Tay greeted with a slight frown. We need to talk. Can we sit down? Boku looked at Tom, her heart racing. She wasn't sure what was coming next, but the tension in the air was undeniable. Tom gave her a reassuring nod before leaning back in his chair, silently watching the three of them. Once they were all seated, Tay leaned forward, her voice low. Look, we've been thinking a lot about what's been happening with Vanessa and the rumors. We're not blind to the fact that we've been keeping things from you too. Boku's heart skipped a beat. She had known this moment was coming. They had all been tiptoeing around the truth, each of them afraid to speak up and risk further conflict. But here they were, facing the truth together. We want to help, Tina added, her usual bubbly demeanor replaced by something more serious. We know what's going on. We know Vanessa's been causing trouble, and we want to make it right. Boku blinked in surprise. She had expected some form of confrontation, but not this. Not a full-on offer of help. Her mind raced as she tried to process what they were saying. Could they really help her? You're not alone in this, Boku, Tay said, her tone gentle. We're with you. We want to make sure Vanessa doesn't get away with what she's been doing. Boku took a deep breath, her chest swelling with a mixture of relief and gratitude. It felt like a weight had been lifted, but the reality of the situation hadn't hit yet. Vanessa wasn't going to back down easily. They would have to fight back. What's the plan? She asked, her voice steady despite the storm of thoughts in her head. Tay's eyes gleamed with determination. We're going to take the fight to her. But we need to be smart about it. We need to expose her for what she really is. Tina leaned in, her expression thoughtful. We've been doing some research. We've got a few people who owe us favors. We're going to dig into her social media, find out everything we can, and use it against her. We're going to make her own lies work against her. Boku's heart pounded in her chest. You really think this will work? Tay nodded. We've got nothing to lose, right? She's already gone too far. It's time we put a stop to it. Boku felt a spark of hope flicker in her chest. She had been so focused on surviving, on just getting through the day-to-day. But now, with Tay and Tina by her side, maybe she could actually win. Maybe they could win. We're in this together, Boku said, her voice filled with newfound resolve. Tom, who had been silently observing the conversation, stood up. I'll help however I can. You're not doing this alone. Boku turned to look at him, her heart swelling with gratitude. Thanks, Tom. It means a lot to have you by my side. As the group discussed their next steps, Boku couldn't help but feel that the tides were shifting. For the first time in a long while, she felt like she was in control of her life. Vanessa's grip on her world might have been tight, but with her friends by her side, she knew she could break free. The battle wasn't over, but she was ready for the fight. Chapter 29. The plan was in motion. It felt almost surreal to Boku, like she was finally stepping into a role she never thought she'd get to play. Her entire life had been about keeping her head down, surviving in the shadows, but now, she was about to take the fight to Vanessa. The next few days were filled with meetings, messages, and late-night brainstorming sessions with Tay and Tina. They had a plan, one that felt calculated and, most importantly, achievable. They weren't going to confront Vanessa directly, not yet. Instead, they were going to let her reveal her own true colors slowly, methodically. Boku had a new kind of energy about her. It wasn't just the resolve to finish the semester and pass her exams. No, it was something more, the sense that she wasn't alone anymore. For the first time, she had friends who cared, who were willing to risk everything for her. And even more, she had Tom. His quiet, consistent support was like an anchor, keeping her grounded when everything else seemed to spin out of control. It was a Wednesday evening when the first step of their plan went into action. Boku, Tay and Tina gathered in the small library at the university, sitting at a round table, their laptops open in front of them. There was a sense of quiet excitement in the air. They had all agreed to keep things discreet, no one could know what they were doing. Tina clicked her mouse, bringing up Vanessa's social media profiles. "All right," she said, her voice tinged with a sense of satisfaction. "Let's see what we've got." Boku watched closely, her heart thudding in her chest. Vanessa had always been so perfect, so poised in public, but that didn't mean she hadn't left traces of herself behind on the internet. Social media was a goldmine of information if you knew where to look. Tay leaned forward, scanning the screen. "She's got a private Instagram, but I can get into it. I've got some connections." Boku's eyebrows shot up in surprise. "You've been doing more than I realized." Tay smirked. "I know people. Just focus on getting through the next few weeks, and we'll handle the rest." Tina added, "We're going to follow her movements, see who she interacts with, what she posts, and look for anything we can use. We'll track her, piece together a story that'll expose her for who she really is." The three of them shared a determined look before turning their attention back to the screen. Vanessa had always been one step ahead, but this time, things were different. This time, she was the one being watched. As they scrolled through Vanessa's profile, they began to uncover more than they'd hoped. There were subtle hints, snide comments, passive-aggressive remarks, private messages with her sister that hinted at deeper, darker behavior. Vanessa was good at covering her tracks, but she had left enough of a trail behind her. A few wrong comments here, an unguarded moment there, and they had everything they needed. "This is it," Tay said, her finger pausing on a particular post. "This one's the key. She talks about handling some little problems, that's gotta be about us." Boku felt a chill run down her spine. It was all there, right in front of her. Vanessa had been plotting, and now she had proof. "This is it, guys," Boku said, her voice barely above a whisper. "We've got her." The next morning, as Boku walked into the university's courtyard, she could feel a shift in the air. Things were different now. People had been talking, whispering about the rumors that had started to circulate. It seemed like everyone was curious about what was going on with Vanessa, though few of them knew the full story. But Boku did. She had the evidence in her hands, and there was no going back. Tay and Tina were already waiting by their usual bench, talking in hushed voices as Boku approached. "You ready for today?" Tina asked, her voice carrying a mix of excitement and nerves. "I think so," Boku replied, taking a seat beside them. "We've got everything we need, right?" Tay pulled out her phone, checking the latest updates. "Yep, everything's in place. The trap is set. We just need to let her walk right into it." Boku glanced over at Tom, who was standing with a few of his friends across the courtyard. His usual serious expression softened when he saw her, and he made his way over to join them. There was something comforting about the way he always seemed to appear just when she needed him. "Everything okay?" Tom asked, his voice low, but full of concern. "Yeah," Boku said, her confidence building. "We've got everything ready. Now it's time for Vanessa to show her true colors." Tom smiled, a hint of admiration in his eyes. "I'm proud of you, Boku. You've come a long way." The words, simple as they were, filled Boku with a sense of purpose. She wasn't just fighting for herself anymore. She was fighting for the people she cared about, for the friends who had stuck by her when things got tough. The plan was simple. They were going to expose Vanessa slowly, making sure each piece of evidence was undeniable. Once it was all laid out, Vanessa wouldn't be able to lie her way out of it. Everyone would see her for who she really was: manipulative, vindictive, and petty. But as the day went on, Boku couldn't shake the feeling that something was off. Vanessa wasn't acting like herself. She seemed nervous, out of place. Every time Boku saw her, there was a fleeting moment of panic in her eyes, quickly masked by a practiced smile. It wasn't until later that day, when Boku was walking to class with Tom, that she realized what was happening. Vanessa wasn't just trying to protect her image, she was about to strike back. A text message from Tay flashed across her phone screen. "Vanessa knows. She's planning something." Chapter 30. The next few days were tense, and the air felt thick with anticipation. Boku's heart raced every time she checked her phone, half expecting another message from Tay or Tina. Every moment felt like a fragile balance, and for the first time in a long while, Boku was thrust into the kind of world where every decision mattered, where her every move could change the game. Vanessa had always been skilled at hiding her true nature behind a mask of elegance and poise, but now, with the pieces of evidence starting to fall into place, Boku had learned the hard way that even the most carefully crafted facade can crack under pressure. But what she hadn't expected, what she hadn't prepared for, was just how far Vanessa would go to keep her secrets buried. It wasn't until after a long day of classes that the first hint of retaliation from Vanessa surfaced. Boku had been heading toward the library, carrying a stack of textbooks, when she heard her name, Boku. She turned to see Vanessa standing by the entrance, her usual polished self now replaced by something darker. The confident, haughty air that always seemed to surround her was gone. She looked almost desperate, but beneath that, there was something else, a calculating, almost predatory gleam in her eyes. "Vanessa, what's going on?" Boku asked, her voice steady despite the unease that bubbled up inside her. She had to keep her composure. Vanessa smiled, though it didn't quite reach her eyes. "You've been stirring things up, haven't you? You've been trying to expose me." Boku's stomach dropped. She didn't want to show her hand, but she couldn't deny that Vanessa was right. "I'm just trying to make sure people know the truth." Vanessa's smile faded into something far more menacing. "Truth? The truth is, you don't know anything. But you're about to." Before Boku could respond, Vanessa turned and walked away, her heels clicking sharply on the pavement. Boku stood frozen for a moment, her mind racing. What had just happened? It felt like the calm before the storm. Boku's phone buzzed, snapping her out of her thoughts. It was a message from Tina. "Vanessa's going to strike back. Watch out for her next move." Boku's hand tightened around her phone, a wave of determination washing over her. She wasn't about to let Vanessa get away with it, not this time. She had the proof, and soon enough, everyone would know what kind of person Vanessa really was. The days following the encounter with Vanessa were a blur of mounting tension. Boku couldn't shake the feeling that she was being watched, her every move scrutinized by unseen eyes. It was as though Vanessa was always one step ahead, anticipating her every action, every decision. It wasn't until late that Friday night when things finally took a turn. Boku was studying in her dorm room when she received a call from Tae. She answered quickly, her pulse quickening. "Tae. Tina and I found something," Tae said, her voice urgent. "Vanessa's been talking to some people, trying to dig up dirt on you. We don't know exactly what she's planning, but it's not good." Boku's heart skipped a beat. "What kind of dirt?" "We're still piecing things together, but it looks like she's trying to get ahead of you, make sure that when everything comes out, it's not just her being exposed. She's trying to take you down with her." Boku's throat tightened as the weight of the situation settled in. "I need to do something, Tae. I can't just sit back and wait for her to destroy everything we've worked for." "We've got your back, Boku," Tae said, her voice reassuring. "We're not letting her win." Boku hung up the phone, her mind racing. She couldn't let Vanessa take control of this fight. She couldn't let her manipulate the situation in her favor. It was time to take the next step, time to expose Vanessa once and for all. The following Monday, the entire university seemed to buzz with a strange energy. Boku couldn't help but notice the way people were whispering as she walked down the halls, casting furtive glances her way. It wasn't just the usual college gossip, something bigger was happening. People were talking, and the tension was palpable. As she made her way to her next class, Boku caught sight of Tom sitting in the hallway, reading a book. He looked up as she approached, his eyes softening when they met hers. "Hey," he said, his voice quiet but full of warmth. "How are you holding up?" Boku forced a smile, though it didn't quite reach her eyes. "I'm fine. Just a little nervous about what's coming next." Tom closed his book, his gaze intense as he studied her. "You don't have to do this alone, you know. I'm here for you." The sincerity in his voice touched something deep inside her. She had spent so much of her life trying to handle everything on her own, but now, with Tom by her side, things felt different. She wasn't alone anymore. "I know," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. "Thank you, Tom. I don't know what I'd do without you." Tom smiled, his usual stoic expression softening. We'll get through this together, Boku. She nodded, feeling a renewed sense of resolve. It was time to stop hiding in the shadows. She was ready to face whatever Vanessa threw her way. And this time, she wouldn't back down. The rest of the day passed in a blur of whispers and stares. By the time Boku arrived back at her dorm room that evening, she was mentally exhausted. She sat down on her bed, staring at her phone. She had messages from both Tae and Tina, but there was one message that stood out among the rest. It was from Tom.Be careful, Boku. I have a feeling she's planning something big. Boku's stomach clenched at the message. It felt like the calm before the storm, and she knew that Vanessa wasn't done yet. The real battle was about to begin. Chapter 31. The days that followed were filled with uncertainty. Boku could feel the tension growing between her and Vanessa, each passing moment like a tightening string ready to snap. Vanessa was playing her game, but Boku was no longer just a pawn. This time, she was the one calling the shots, and it was her turn to turn the tables. It was a Wednesday afternoon when the first bombshell hit. Boku had just finished a class and was walking toward the campus courtyard when she noticed the crowd gathered around the central fountain. Curious, she made her way toward the group, a sinking feeling settling in her stomach. She pushed through the crowd, only to freeze when she saw what had captured everyone's attention. A large banner was draped across the fountain, and on it, in bold letters, was a photo of Boku and Tom hand in hand, smiling as if they were a couple. The words below the picture read, "The unlikely love affair, a finance major and her boss secrets exposed." Boku's heart skipped a beat as she read the caption. How had they gotten this photo? Her mind raced, but before she could process everything, she felt a tap on her shoulder. She turned quickly to find Vanessa standing behind her, her expression unreadable. "Quite the scandal, isn't it?" Vanessa said coolly, her voice like ice. "I thought you might want to know, Boku. The truth always comes out in the end." Boku's mind whirled, the world around her spinning as she tried to make sense of the situation. This wasn't just a rumor, this was a full-scale attack. Vanessa had gone too far. "Why are you doing this?" Boku asked, her voice a mix of anger and disbelief. Vanessa gave a small, almost mocking smile. "Because it's time for you to learn that in this world, people like me don't let people like you win. You're just another pawn in my game, and I'll make sure you stay in your place." Boku's fists clenched at her sides. She refused to let Vanessa's words break her. Not now, not when everything she had worked for was on the line. She wouldn't let this be the thing that took her down. Before she could respond, she felt a hand on her shoulder. She turned to see Tom standing beside her, his jaw set in determination. "Is there something you need to explain, Vanessa?" Tom asked, his voice low but firm. "Because, as far as I can tell, there's no truth to any of this." Vanessa's smile faltered, but only for a moment. "Oh, Tom," she said, shaking her head. "You're just as naive as she is. You think this is just some petty little rumor? This is your future at stake. Do you really think you can escape this? You think your little friend can save you from everything?" Boku didn't miss the look of concern that flashed across Tom's face. He was clearly caught between his loyalty to her and his growing sense of responsibility in the family business. But Boku couldn't let him become a casualty in this war. She stepped forward, her voice strong. "No one is going to ruin my life with lies, Vanessa. Not now, not ever." Vanessa's expression darkened, but she didn't respond immediately. Instead, she turned and walked away, leaving the crowd to buzz with whispers and speculation. But Boku wasn't done yet. This was just the beginning. Later that night, Boku sat in her room, trying to process everything that had happened. The banner. Vanessa's words. The picture. Everything was moving so quickly, and yet, it felt like a storm was brewing, just waiting to explode. Her phone buzzed, and she quickly grabbed it, seeing a message from Tina. "Vanessa's playing dirty. We have to move fast. We have everything we need to expose her, but she won't back down without a fight." Boku let out a deep breath. "I'm not backing down either. Let's finish this." She quickly typed out a response and set her phone down on the desk. She knew that if she was going to get through this, she had to stay focused. She couldn't let Vanessa win. Not now. Not ever. The next morning, As she walked into the campus courtyard, she noticed the banner was gone. It was a small victory, but it felt like a step in the right direction. Still, there was no denying the weight of the battle ahead. Vanessa wouldn't give up so easily, and Boku knew she had to be ready. As she made her way to class, she caught sight of Tom standing near the entrance, waiting for her. When their eyes met, he gave her a reassuring smile. "Hey, are you okay?" he asked, his voice soft but full of concern. Boku nodded, forcing a smile. "I'm fine. Just a little shaken up, but I'll be okay." Tom's gaze softened as he reached out and gently took her hand. "I'm here for you. We'll get through this together, I promise." Her heart fluttered at the warmth in his touch. For a moment, she let herself relax in his presence, knowing that no matter how dark things seemed, she wasn't alone. She had him, and she had her friends. Together, they could face anything. Later that afternoon, Boku received a call from Tae and Tina, who had gathered more information about Vanessa's next move. They had intercepted a series of emails between Vanessa and some of her associates, detailing plans to publicly humiliate Boku at the upcoming school charity event. It was clear now that Vanessa was pulling out all the stops to make sure Boku couldn't recover, but Boku wasn't going to let that happen. "We have to turn the tables," Boku said as she listened to the details. "We can't let her ruin everything. We need to expose her for who she really is, and we need to do it before she can strike again." Tae's voice was resolute. "We're ready. We've been working on it. Vanessa won't see this coming." Boku hung up the phone, determination flooding through her. It was time for the storm to break, but this time, she was the one in control. As the days passed, Vanessa continued to escalate the situation, trying to undermine Boku at every turn. But Boku wasn't intimidated. She had a plan. She had the truth on her side, and she wasn't going to let Vanessa get away with it. Chapter 32. The tension had never been thicker. Every step Boku took felt heavy, as though the weight of the world was pressing down on her. The fight with Vanessa had reached a boiling point, and there was no turning back now. Vanessa had underestimated Boku, and now it was time for the final showdown. Boku sat in her room, staring at the pile of evidence Tae and Tina had gathered. It was incriminating emails, texts, and even audio recordings of Vanessa's plotting. The truth was on their side, but the question was, would it be enough to take down someone as dangerous and conniving as Vanessa? She glanced at the clock. The charity event was in 2 days. It was the perfect opportunity to reveal Vanessa for who she really was. The timing couldn't have been more perfect. The pressure was mounting, but she knew this was her chance. She couldn't back down now. Her phone buzzed, snapping her out of her thoughts. She picked it up, seeing a message from Tom. "We need to talk. Meet me at the cafe." Boku's heart skipped a beat. She quickly typed back, agreeing to meet him. This was it, time to discuss their plan, time to make their move. At the cafe, the familiar hum of the bustling crowd seemed distant to Boku. Her focus was entirely on Tom, who was sitting at their usual table, waiting for her. As she approached, she saw the concern written all over his face. He hadn't looked this worried since the first time they'd been attacked by Vanessa's schemes. Boku sat down, trying to mask her anxiety with a smile. "Hey." Tom's gaze softened, his voice low. "Hey. How are you holding up?" Boku hesitated, considering the question. It had been a roller coaster of emotions, but she couldn't afford to break down now. "I'm fine," she said, though she wasn't sure if it was entirely true. "I'm just getting ready. Everything we've worked for is about to come to a head." Tom nodded, his expression serious. "And you're sure about this? It's a big risk. If we do this, there's no going back." Boku met his gaze, her resolve hardening. "We have no choice. Vanessa has already crossed so many lines, and we can't let her keep getting away with it. This is the only way." Tom leaned forward, his hands folding together on the table. "You're right. But I want you to know you're not in this alone. I'm with you, every step of the way." A small sense of relief washed over Boku as she heard his words. She had been carrying so much of the weight on her own, but in that moment, she knew she didn't have to do it alone anymore. They were a team, and together, they were unstoppable. "I know," Boku said softly. "And I'm so glad for that." There was a brief silence between them, the gravity of the situation settling in. But just as quickly, Tom's expression softened, and he flashed a small, reassuring smile. "Whatever happens, we'll face it together. We've got this." Boku's heart swelled. She nodded, grateful for his unwavering support. "Thanks, Tom. I don't think I could do this without you." They spent the next few minutes going over the plan, making sure every detail was accounted for. It was simple but effective. During the charity event, they would publicly expose Vanessa's manipulation by playing the incriminating recordings and showing the evidence to everyone in attendance. It would be a bombshell that would rock the entire campus. Boku had no illusions about the aftermath. Vanessa would likely try to retaliate, but at that point, it wouldn't matter. The truth would be out, and there would be no way for her to spin it. The whole campus would know who she really was. The day of the charity event arrived, and Boku felt like she was walking into battle. The venue was a grand ballroom on the edge of campus, elegantly decorated with soft lighting, flowers, and crystal chandeliers. The music was upbeat, and the chatter of excited students and faculty filled the air. Boku and Tom arrived together, their presence drawing attention. Whispers started to spread like wildfire, but this time, the gossip wasn't aimed at them. Vanessa was nowhere to be seen, but her absence only fueled the rumors. The question on everyone's mind was whether the big scandal would finally come to light. Boku and Tom took their seats at a table near the front, and she glanced around nervously. She hadn't seen Vanessa yet, but she knew it wouldn't be long. The event was about to begin. Her thoughts were interrupted when the organizer stepped onto the stage, a microphone in hand. "Good evening, everyone, and thank you for joining us tonight at the annual charity gala. We have some very exciting announcements, and I know you're all eager to get started." The crowd clapped politely, but Boku's mind was elsewhere. She could feel the weight of the impending confrontation building with every passing second. It wasn't long before Vanessa finally appeared, stepping into the room with her usual air of confidence. She was dressed in a sleek, black gown, her smile as calculated as ever. She scanned the room, her eyes landing on Boku and Tom, and a flicker of recognition flashed across her face. For a brief moment, their gazes locked, and Boku saw something in Vanessa's eyes, something dark, something dangerous. Vanessa was ready for her move. But so was Boku. As the evening progressed, the energy in the room shifted. The time had come. Boku stood up, her hands shaking slightly but her determination unwavering. She exchanged a glance with Tom, who nodded, signaling that it was time. With the help of Tay and Tina, the projector screen was set up, and the room fell silent as the first piece of evidence appeared. The incriminating emails and texts flashed onto the screen, and the murmurs started. The room was filled with whispers of disbelief as Vanessa's schemes were exposed for all to see, and then came the final blow. Vanessa's voice, captured in the recordings, calling the entire situation a game, laughing about her manipulation of others. It was the moment that would seal her fate. Boku watched as the crowd's reaction shifted from shock to outrage. Vanessa's face went pale, and she stood frozen at the back of the room. She tried to speak, to defend herself, but the truth was too loud to ignore. "Vanessa," Boku's voice rang out, calm and steady, "you've played your game for too long. But it ends now." The silence that followed was deafening. The crowd was now fully on Boku's side, and there was no way Vanessa could escape. The storm had broken, and there was no going back. Chapter 33. The silence in the ballroom was deafening. The once vibrant chatter had stilled, and all eyes were now on Vanessa. She stood at the back of the room, her mouth agape as her world crumbled around her. For a moment, it was as if she couldn't comprehend what was happening. How could this be happening to her? She had been so careful, so manipulative, always managing to stay one step ahead. Yet, in that instant, it all unraveled. Boku stood tall in the front, her heart racing but her resolve unshaken. Her gaze never wavered from Vanessa as the room filled with whispers of shock and disbelief. She knew the fallout would be intense, but she also knew there was no turning back now. The truth had been exposed, and there was no more hiding behind her lies. "Vanessa," Boku repeated, her voice steady, but her words sharp, "it's over. Your game ends tonight." The room remained silent, except for the distant hum of murmured voices. Vanessa's face turned bright red, a mix of humiliation and rage bubbling up inside her. Her jaw clenched, and she took a step forward, but before she could say anything, the crowd erupted in protest. Is this true? You manipulated us all? One voice rang out from the crowd. Are you really the one behind all the lies? Another voice joined in, a tone of disbelief laced with anger. Vanessa's attempts to speak were drowned out by the growing murmurs. She stumbled backward, unable to find her footing, as the truth settled in like a heavy stone in her stomach. People she had once considered allies were now turning against her, their trust shattered. Tom stepped forward, standing beside Boku. He turned to face the crowd, his voice calm but authoritative. We didn't come here to ruin anyone's life. But we couldn't stand by and let her continue to hurt people. You all deserve the truth. Vanessa's eyes darted between the two of them, her fists clenched at her sides. You think you've won, she hissed, her voice low but full of venom. This isn't over. I'll make sure you both regret this. But her threats fell flat, swallowed up by the overwhelming support that now surrounded Boku and Tom. Vanessa's reputation, once pristine in the eyes of the campus, was now nothing more than a tarnished memory. The damage had been done. Boku turned her gaze to the stage, where the event organizer stood, her expression one of shock. The woman took a deep breath, clearly weighing her options. It was then that the police arrived, their presence a clear sign that this wasn't a matter that could be swept under the rug. The authorities would take care of the rest. Boku stepped away from the front, her hands trembling as the adrenaline from the confrontation began to wear off. Tom followed closely behind her, his presence a steady reminder that she wasn't facing this alone. The weight of what had just happened settled on her shoulders, but she couldn't help but feel a sense of satisfaction. They had won. The fallout didn't end when Vanessa was escorted out of the ballroom. The story spread like wildfire across campus, reaching every corner of the university. Social media exploded with posts, screenshots, and videos, all documenting the moment Vanessa's true nature was revealed. The campus that had once adored her now recoiled in disgust. It wasn't just Vanessa who was affected. Her loyal followers, the ones who had supported her manipulative schemes, were now out in the open. Several students, caught up in the chaos, tried to distance themselves, their reputations too damaged to salvage. Those who had once feared Vanessa now found themselves standing with Boku, offering apologies and support. In the days that followed, Boku couldn't escape the constant buzz of attention. Everyone wanted to talk to her, to congratulate her for exposing Vanessa's lies. Even professors reached out, offering words of praise. It was surreal, and at times, overwhelming. But despite the newfound recognition, Boku remained grounded. She knew the fight wasn't over yet. Vanessa's retaliation was inevitable, and they still had to face the consequences of their actions. Boku returned to her dorm that evening, her mind spinning with everything that had happened. As she walked into her room, she was greeted by the sound of her roommate's laughter. You did it, her roommate exclaimed, her wide smile lighting up the room. I can't believe you actually pulled it off. Vanessa's finished. Boku smiled, feeling the weight of the world lifting off her shoulders. Yeah, it's over. But it's not as sweet as I thought it would be. Her roommate raised an eyebrow, clearly intrigued. What do you mean? Boku flopped down onto her bed, her gaze distant. I don't know. It just feels empty. I've been fighting this battle for so long, and now that it's over, it's like everything is different. I don't know where to go from here. Her roommate sat down beside her, offering a comforting smile. You don't have to figure it all out right now. You've been through a lot, and you deserve a break. Besides, you've got Tom by your side, right? Boku's heart fluttered at the mention of his name. Yeah, she said softly, he's been amazing through all of this. I couldn't have done it without him. Her roommate grinned, nudging her playfully. I think someone's got a little crush. Boku blushed, her thoughts immediately going to Tom. It's not like that. I mean, we've been through a lot together, and he's just really supportive. He's a good guy. Her roommate gave her a knowing look. Aha. Keep telling yourself that. But honestly, I think you two are perfect for each other. Boku let out a nervous laugh, feeling her cheeks heat up. I don't know if that's true. He's got a lot going for him, and I don't want to make things complicated. Her roommate shrugged, unfazed. If he's into you, it's already complicated, so you might as well enjoy it." Boku smiled faintly. She couldn't deny that she felt something for Tom, something deeper than friendship. But there was still a part of her that was unsure about where this would lead. The following morning, Boku received an unexpected visit. She had barely woken up when there was a knock at her door. She opened it to find Tom standing there, a hesitant smile on his face. "Hey," he said softly. "Can we talk?" Boku stepped aside to let him in, her heart racing. The conversation they needed to have had been a long time coming, and she wasn't sure how to begin. Tom took a deep breath, running a hand through his hair. "I know we've been through a lot these past few weeks, but there's something I need to say." Boku's pulse quickened, and she waited, unsure of what was coming next. Tom looked directly at her, his gaze unwavering. "Boku, I think I've fallen for you." Boku's breath caught in her throat. She hadn't expected him to say that, at least not yet. But now that the words were out in the open, she realized that she felt the same way. I think I have too," she said softly, her voice trembling. Tom smiled, a genuine warmth spreading across his face. He took a step closer, his hand reaching out to gently touch hers. "Then let's figure this out together. We've been through too much not to." Boku smiled, her heart finally at ease. This was just the beginning of a new chapter, one that she was ready to face with Tom by her side. Chapter 34. The days following the explosive reveal of Vanessa's schemes were a blur of new developments, fresh starts, and unexpected emotions. The campus, once filled with whispers about the manipulations of the notorious Vanessa, had shifted its focus toward Boku and Tom. They had become something of a symbol for change, two individuals who had refused to back down in the face of deceit, and who had fought for the truth despite the consequences. Boku walked across the campus, her heart light. For the first time in weeks, she didn't feel the constant weight of the world on her shoulders. The whispers weren't about Vanessa anymore, they were about her and Tom. It was strange, exhilarating, and, in a way, freeing. She could feel the weight of her transformation lifting. She had become someone different, someone stronger, someone who could stand up for herself and those she cared about. The cool breeze swept through the courtyard, tousling her hair as she approached the library. Her thoughts drifted to the conversation she had had with Tom just the day before. He had confessed his feelings for her, and she had reciprocated. It was an overwhelming moment, one she hadn't anticipated, yet it felt so right. She hadn't realized how much she'd been waiting for those words to leave his lips, or how much she had been afraid of acknowledging her own feelings for him. But now that it was out in the open, it felt like a weight had been lifted from her heart. The uncertainty she had carried with her for so long had been replaced with something warmer, something undeniable. "Boku," a familiar voice called, pulling her from her thoughts. She turned and saw Tom walking toward her, a relaxed smile on his face. "Hey," she said softly, her heart skipping a beat as he closed the distance between them. Tom grinned, his eyes twinkling with something playful. "I've been looking for you. I thought we could grab lunch together. How does that sound?" "Sounds perfect," Boku replied, a smile tugging at the corners of her lips. "I have a lot to talk about. Feels like everything's changing so quickly." "Well," Tom said as they began walking side by side toward the campus cafe, "I think that's just the way it's supposed to be. Sometimes, things need to change for the better." Boku nodded thoughtfully. "Yeah, I guess so. I never thought I'd be in this position. All of this, it feels like a dream." "I get that," Tom said, his voice gentle. "But it's not a dream, Boku. It's real. We're real." Boku looked up at him, her heart swelling at the sincerity in his voice. "I know," she said softly. It feels like everything is finally falling into place." They arrived at the cafe, and after ordering, they found a quiet corner by the window. The room was filled with the low hum of conversation, but in that moment, it felt as though they were the only two people in the world. It was peaceful, and for once, Boku allowed herself to relax and enjoy the moment. She had been through so much, battling Vanessa's manipulations, facing the truth about herself, and transforming into someone she barely recognized, but now, she could breathe. It felt like a new beginning. "So, what's next?" Tom asked as he took a bite of his sandwich. Boku thought for a moment, her eyes drifting to the window as she considered his question. "I'm not sure," she admitted. "I guess I'm just figuring things out. I want to make sure that I'm making the right choices, you know? Tom nodded. I get it. Things have been moving fast, but I think you've already made the right choice. You're stronger than you think, Boku. You've been through so much, and yet, you still stand tall. Her heart warmed at his words, and she felt a small blush creep up her neck. Thanks, Tom. I don't know what I'd do without you. I think you'd do just fine, he said with a wink. But I'm glad I'm here. They shared a quiet moment, their conversation turning to lighter topics, classes, friends, and the ridiculous things that happened around campus. It felt normal, and that normalcy was exactly what Boku needed. She wasn't just the girl who had been reborn and had to fight for her second chance. She was a young woman, with dreams, hopes, and desires of her own. And now, she had someone by her side who believed in her, someone who saw her for who she truly was. Boku, Tom said after a few moments, his expression shifting to something more serious, about what happened with Vanessa. I know it was intense, but I want you to know that I'm really proud of you. You didn't just stand up for yourself, you stood up for everyone else, too. You made things right. Boku looked down at her hands, suddenly feeling a little overwhelmed by the weight of his words. I didn't do it alone. You were there with me. I couldn't have done it without you. Tom smiled, a softness in his gaze. I'd do anything for you. Boku's heart fluttered at his words. She wanted to respond, to tell him how much that meant to her, but she found herself at a loss for words. She wasn't used to this kind of vulnerability, this openness. But she felt it, deep within her. I think, she started, her voice trailing off, I think we've both been through so much, and we've come out of it stronger. Together. Tom leaned back in his chair, his eyes never leaving hers. Together, he agreed. The rest of the afternoon passed in a haze of contentment. As the days went by, Boku began to realize that life was no longer just about surviving, it was about thriving, about creating something real and lasting. She wasn't alone in her journey anymore. She had Tom, her friends, and her newfound sense of self. And that was all she needed. For the first time in a long while, Boku allowed herself to dream about the future. The future didn't seem so scary anymore. It seemed full of possibilities. As she walked back to her dorm that evening, her phone buzzed with a message from her brother. Come home this weekend. We need to talk. Love you. Boku smiled at the text, knowing that her family was ready to welcome her with open arms. They would always be there for her, just as she would always be there for them. And for the first time in a long time, she felt at peace. The next chapter of her life had begun, and this time, she was ready for it. Chapter 35. The sun shone brightly through the windows of Boku's dorm room, casting a warm glow on everything it touched. It was a new day, a day that promised new beginnings, and she could feel it deep in her bones. There was something electric in the air, something that told her this chapter of her life was finally coming to a close, and a new one was about to begin. She had fought hard for the life she now had, and though there had been challenges and moments of doubt, she was finally where she was meant to be. After the conversation with Tom the day before, she felt as though a weight had been lifted from her shoulders. She wasn't just a person who had to face battles anymore, she was someone who could take control of her life, who could shape her future, and who had people by her side who believed in her. It wasn't a dream anymore, it was real, and she was living it. But there was one final step to take, one final hurdle to overcome. The looming weekend meeting with her family was just around the corner. It wasn't that Boku was afraid or uncertain of how it would go, she was simply nervous about the unknown. Her brother, Jake, and her younger sister, Sam, had always been her protectors, but she knew that they had their own way of doing things, their own expectations for how they wanted her to live. She had changed, and now she needed to show them that she was different, stronger, more confident, and ready to take control of her own destiny. It was time to take the final step toward fully embracing the life she had worked so hard to build. The drive home felt longer than usual. The distance between the university and her family's home wasn't great, but today, the minutes seemed to stretch on forever. Boku was anxious, the kind of anxious she hadn't felt in a while. It wasn't just about seeing her family, it was about showing them who she had become. She had changed in ways they hadn't yet seen, and she wasn't sure how they would react. Would they still see her as the same quiet, unsure girl they had known? Or would they recognize the woman she had become, Her phone buzzed, pulling her from her thoughts. It was a message from Tom. "You okay?" Boku smiled softly, her heart warming at the simple message. Tom had become her rock, her support in everything. She had found herself, and now she had found someone who saw her, really saw her, for who she was. It was a feeling she had never experienced before. "Yeah. Just nervous about this weekend. I'll be fine. Just need to face them." Tom's response came almost immediately. "I believe in you, Boku. You've already proven you're stronger than you think. You've got this." She didn't respond right away, but his words lingered in her mind as she made her way toward her family's house. It was the perfect reminder of just how far she had come. She wasn't alone. She had people who believed in her: Tom, her friends, her family, and that was all she needed. When she arrived at the house, her younger sister, Sam, was the first to greet her. Sam was always full of energy, always bouncing around with enthusiasm, and today was no different. She ran up to Boku and enveloped her in a tight hug. "Boku, you're here," Sam exclaimed, her voice bubbling with excitement. "I can't wait to hear all about everything that's been happening with you. You've got to tell me everything." Boku laughed, her nerves easing slightly. Sam's presence always had that effect on her. "I've missed you too, Sam. It feels like it's been forever." "I know. I've been so busy with school, but I've been keeping up with everything you've been doing," Sam said, practically bouncing up and down. "But first, you've got to see the changes we've made to the house. You're going to love it." Before Boku could respond, Jake appeared in the doorway, his tall frame filling the entrance. His expression was unreadable, but there was a softness in his eyes when he saw her. "Boku," he said simply, his voice low but warm. "It's good to see you." "Hey, Jake," Boku replied, her voice trembling slightly despite her best efforts to stay calm. "It's good to be home." Jake's gaze lingered on her for a moment before he nodded. "We've all been waiting for you. Come inside. There's something we need to talk about." Boku swallowed, her stomach tightening at his words. She had known this moment would come. They had to talk about everything, about her transformation, about the decisions she had made, about what the future held. Dinner was quiet, more so than usual. The four of them sat around the table, the conversation light at first, with Sam filling the silence with her usual chatter. But as the evening wore on, Boku could feel the tension building. The weight of the conversation they all knew was coming, hanging in the air. Finally, Jake put down his fork and looked at her, his expression serious. "Boku, we need to talk." Boku's heart skipped a beat, but she nodded, bracing herself. "I know." "First," Jake began, his voice steady but filled with something she couldn't quite place, "I just want to say that I'm proud of you. You've done well. We've seen the changes in you, and it's obvious that you've come a long way." Boku blinked in surprise. This wasn't what she had expected. She had braced herself for something harsher, something more critical. But instead, her brother's words were filled with pride. "You've faced a lot," Jake continued, "and I know we haven't always been there for you the way we should have been. But seeing you now, seeing the woman you've become, it makes me proud to call you my sister." Boku's throat tightened at his words. It wasn't often that Jake opened up like this, but when he did, it hit her right in the chest. She hadn't expected this kind of validation, this kind of support. "Jake," Boku's voice was barely a whisper, but he held up a hand to stop her. "I know you've made choices, and some of those choices are difficult for me to understand," he said, "but I trust you, Boku. You're capable of making your own decisions, and I'll support you no matter what." Boku felt her heart swell at his words. She had expected to fight for her place in their lives, but Jake's acceptance meant more to her than she could put into words. "And," Sam added with a grin, "I've already decided you're going to be fine. You've always had a way of surprising us, and I think this is just another one of those times." Boku laughed softly, her heart lighter than it had been in ages. "Thanks, Sam. You guys, you don't know how much this means to me." Jake nodded. "We may not always agree on everything, but you're our family. And that means everything." In that moment, Boku realized that she had come full circle. The girl who had been uncertain and unsure of herself was now standing tall, surrounded by people who loved her and believed in her. She wasn't just surviving, she was thriving, with Tom by her side, her family's support, and a future full of possibilities, Boku knew that the final step had been taken. She was ready for whatever came next. The next chapter of her life had begun. And this time, she was ready to embrace it fully.
Chapter 36. Tom had always been a man of few words, preferring to keep his thoughts and emotions to himself. He had grown used to the quiet space he inhabited, where action spoke louder than anything he could ever say. But lately, everything had changed. And it was all because of her, Boku. She wasn't the same person she had been when he first met her. He hadn't realized it at the time, but looking back, he could see the subtle changes, the way she carried herself now with a confidence he hadn't seen before. It was as if a switch had been flipped the moment she came back from that strange encounter with death, and in its place was a woman who commanded attention. The first time he truly noticed the shift was when she came to him asking for tutoring. At first, he had been skeptical. She had been quiet, reserved, and it had seemed like she was content with just fading into the background. But that wasn't what she wanted anymore. When she walked into his study room, her eyes held a certain determination he hadn't seen before. She had changed, and something inside him had clicked. She was no longer the timid girl trying to fit into a mold. She was different. But different in a way that drew him in, slowly at first, and then all at once. He found himself looking forward to their sessions, to seeing the way her eyes lit up when she figured something out, the way she laughed freely without care, but there was something else about her. Something deeper. And Tom wasn't the kind of person to openly admit it, not even to himself, but he couldn't deny it any longer. He liked her. No, it was more than that. He wanted her. Not just because she was his tutor or someone he spent time with, but because there was a connection between them. A pull that was hard to ignore, but what bothered him was how little he understood it. It was one thing to recognize the feeling, but another to face it head on. And even more complicated was the fact that he had been trying to keep his distance. He couldn't afford to complicate things. He was used to being in control, but when it came to Boku, he felt completely out of his depth. It wasn't just about her, though. It was about her transformation. She had changed in ways that went beyond the surface level. She'd become the kind of person who would stand up for others, even when it meant putting herself in the line of fire. She'd confronted bullies on behalf of his sisters, something that had caught him by surprise. He hadn't expected her to take it that far. But she did. She had done so without hesitation, proving that her rebirth wasn't just about herself, it was about making a difference, about standing up for the people she cared about. It was the same thing that made her different now. The way she had taken charge of her life. The way she made him feel like he was the one who needed to catch up. He'd watched her grow, quietly, in the background, and somehow, she had become a part of his world in ways he couldn't have predicted, and then there was that moment. That moment when she had blurted out her feelings for him. Tom had been stunned. Completely taken aback. He hadn't expected it. And for a moment, he had just stood there, staring at her, unsure of how to respond. But when he saw the uncertainty in her eyes, when he saw how much she was trying to hide behind her words, something clicked. He couldn't let her walk away thinking that her feelings weren't reciprocated. He hadn't said anything at the time, he hadn't known how to. But in his heart, he knew. He knew that everything had been leading up to this moment, and now, as he sat there, thinking about all the things he wanted to say to her, it became clear. His feelings for her had been building for a long time. He had been blind to it before, but now, it was undeniable. The way his chest tightened when she laughed. The way his heart fluttered when she smiled at him. How, even in moments of tension, he couldn't help but feel drawn to her, but what could he say? He wasn't like the other guys who could pour their hearts out, who had all the right words at the right time. Tom had always been the type to show his feelings through actions, not words. But somehow, he had to find a way to let her know. He had to let her know that he felt the same way. He stood up and walked toward the window, looking out at the cityscape. His mind raced with possibilities, none of them perfect. Finally, he turned back to the room and muttered to himself, "I'll figure this out. I will." Because, in the end, nothing mattered more than her, and no matter how complicated things got, he would find a way to make it work. With her by his side, Chapter 37, Tom's mind had been racing ever since that moment with Boku. He couldn't ignore it any longer, the way his heart beat faster every time she was near, the way his chest tightened when she smiled at him. He had thought it was a fleeting thing, something that would fade with time. But it hadn't. It had only grown stronger, more intense with each passing day. He had spent so long hiding behind his calm, collected exterior, pushing down feelings and emotions, believing that control was all that mattered. But then she came into his life, this girl who had been so quiet, so reserved, and yet, with every little change, every small step she took, she had drawn him in. And now she had taken that step. She had confessed, even though she probably felt vulnerable doing so. She had put herself out there, exposing a part of herself that, Tom knew, wasn't easy to share. She had already given him her heart, and the least he could do was show her that he felt the same way. He sat back down on the couch, his hands running through his hair as he thought about what to do next. He wasn't the type to make grand gestures. He wasn't the type to write love letters or declare his feelings in front of an audience. But somehow, this situation felt different. This was Boku. She was worth taking risks for. She had always been worth it. Tom picked up his phone and stared at it for a long moment. He could text her. He could send something simple, something casual. But that didn't feel right. What she had said to him deserved more than that. She deserved to know how he felt, to understand that his feelings for her went beyond words. He stood up and grabbed his jacket, his determination suddenly surging. He wasn't going to wait any longer. He wasn't going to hide from what he wanted anymore. If he had learned anything in the past few weeks, it was that life was too short to wait, to let things slip by. He had to act now. As he walked out the door and made his way toward her dorm, Tom's mind was already running through 100 different scenarios. What would she say? How would she react? He wasn't sure, but one thing was certain, he couldn't go back to the way things were. When he arrived at her dorm building, he took a deep breath before pushing open the door. His heart pounded in his chest, and his palms were clammy, but he had made up his mind. He was going to make sure she knew how much she meant to him. He found her in the common room, her head buried in a book, her hair falling messily around her face. She looked up when she heard his footsteps, her eyes widening in surprise. "Tom," she asked, her voice soft and hesitant, as if she weren't sure whether he had come to see her or not. He didn't say anything right away. Instead, he walked over to her, his eyes locked on hers. He could see the uncertainty there, the same vulnerability she had shown him earlier. But this time, he wasn't going to let her second-guess herself. Without saying another word, Tom took her hand in his. She stiffened slightly, but he didn't let go. Her fingers were warm against his, and for a moment, everything else in the world faded away. "I don't know if I'm good at this," he said quietly, his voice uncharacteristically soft. "But I know that. I like you, Boku. More than I've ever liked anyone before. And I want to be with you." There it was, out in the open. His heart laid bare for her to see. He had always been reserved, always kept things close to his chest. But now, with her, there was no need for barriers. No need for pretenses.